So, Éiníní means little birds. So our story, of course, involves birds.
Did you tell them what we need them to do?
No, you have to help us tell this story.
We're not good enough to tell it by ourselves.
No, not at all. So, when we point at you, all you have to do is say, "No way, Jose." Ready? Try it. No way, Jose. They're really good.
This is the story of Jose. Once upon a time, there was a rooster named Jose. Jose was a very proud rooster who loved to sing. One day, Jose received a letter from his uncle Perico.
Which is a parrot.
Perico is Spanish for parrot. Jose was very excited to receive this letter because it was an invitation. Uncle Perico was getting married. Jose knew that once he arrived, all of the people at the wedding would want to hear him sing. So the morning of the wedding, Jose woke up bright and early, got himself washed up, ready to go, looking his best, and he set off down the road without even stopping for breakfast. He soon realized that this was a mistake, however, because he was very hungry. So when he came to a bush on the side of the road where was hanging the biggest, juiciest, ripest, reddest strawberry he had ever seen, he could not stop himself from gobbling it down. Once he had done that, he realized it was a mistake. He went over and looked at himself in his reflection in the puddle of the side of the road, and sure enough, his beak was covered in bright red raspberry juice. I can't go to my uncle's wedding looking like this, he thought. I need to clean myself off. If only I had a towel or a washcloth or something to wipe this off. And then he got an idea. He went over to the grass on the side of the road and he said, "Grass, grass, clean my beak. I'm going to the wedding of my uncle Perico." But the grass said,
"No way, Jose."
Jose wasn't going to let a little thing like that stop him. He knew there had to be some way he could get the grass to do what he wanted. So he looked around and he noticed in the field of the farm next to the road, there was a sheep. So he walked up to that sheep and he said, "Sheep, sheep, eat the grass won't clean my beak. And I'm going to the wedding of my uncle Perico." But the sheep looked back at Jose and said,
"No way, Jose."
Jose wasn't going to give up yet. He looked around and then he noticed slinking through the forest nearby was a wolf. Jose marched right up to that wolf and he said, "Wolf, wolf, bite the sheep won't eat the grass, and the grass won't clean my beak. And I'm going to the wedding of my uncle Perico." But the wolf just looked at him and he said, "No way, Jose." Jose still wasn't going to admit defeat. He looked around some more and he noticed sleeping on the ground in front of the porch was a dog. So he walked over to that dog and he said, "Dog, dog, chase the wolf won't bite the sheep, and the sheep won't eat the grass, and the grass won't clean my beak. And I'm going to the wedding of my uncle Perico." But that dog just looked up at Jose and said, "No way, Jose." Jose still wasn't ready to give up. He looked around and that's when he noticed that sitting on a chair on that porch was a man. So he walked up to the man and he said, "Man, man, beat the dog won't chase the wolf, and the wolf won't bite the sheep, and the sheep won't eat the grass, and the grass won't clean my beak. And I'm going to the wedding of my uncle Perico." But that man looked right down at Jose and he said, "No way, Jose." Jose had come this far. He wasn't going to give up. So he thought, and 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 he thought. And then he remembered that every time the man walked past the graveyard, he would pull his coat up around his neck, he would walk a little bit faster, he would cross himself, and he would say a prayer. Jose realized the man was afraid of the ghosts in the graveyard. Well, Jose wasn't afraid of any ghosts. He marched into that graveyard as bold as anything, and he said, "Ghosts, ghosts, scare the man won't beat the dog, and the dog won't chase the wolf, and the wolf won't bite the sheep, and the sheep won't eat the grass, and the grass won't clean my beak. And I'm going to the wedding of my uncle Perico." Well, those ghosts, they rose up out of their graves and they went, "Ooh." That man man, his eyes got as big as dinner plates. He jumped up and he grabbed a stick and he started beating that dog. The dog went, "Arr, arr, arr, arr." The dog ran over and started chasing the wolf. The wolf went, "Ow!" And the wolf went over and started biting the sheep. The sheep went, "Meh." The sheep went over and started eating that grass, and the grass went swish, 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 and it cleaned off Jose's beak. Jose was so proud of himself, he could go to his uncle's wedding. He marched on down the road. He got to that church, he sat down, and he watched his uncle get married with all of the other people. And at the reception afterward, Jose stood up and said, "My beloved Uncle Perico, all you fine people here at his wedding, would you like for me to sing for you?" And all of those people looked at Jose and they said, "No way, Jose!" The end.
Well done.